Start. Who is going to start? Where is the mic? Yeah, start.
प्रतिक्रिया न यस्येहं कृत प्रभो स एष भगवान् कालः सर्वेषां नः समागतः. This frightful situation cannot be remedied by any person in this material world. My Lord, it is the Supreme Personality regarded as eternal time, Kala, that has approached us all.
Yeah, read the purport.
There is no superior power which can check the cruel hands of death. No one wants to die, however acute the source of bodily sufferings may be. Even in the days of so-called scientific advancement of knowledge, there is no remedial measure either for old age or for death. Old age is the notice of arrival of death, served by cruel time, and no one can refuse to accept either someone calls or supreme judgment of eternal time. This is explained before Dhritarashtra because he might ask Vidura to find out some remedial measure for imminent fearful situation, as he had ordered many times before. Before ordering, however, Vidura informed Dhritarashtra that there was no remedial measure by anyone or from any source in this material world. And because there is no such thing in the material world, death is identical with Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is said by the Lord Himself in Bhagavad Gita 10.34. Death cannot be checked by anyone or from any source within this material world. Hiranyakashipu wanted to be immortal and underwent a severe type of penance by which the whole universe trembled, and Brahma himself approached him to dissuade Hiranyakashipu from such a severe type of penance. Hiranyakashipu asked Brahma to award him the blessings of immortality, but Brahma said that he himself was subject to death, even in the topmost planet. So, how could he award him the died benediction of immortality? So, there is death even in the topmost planet of this universe. And what to speak of other planets, which are far, far inferior in quality to Brahmaloka, the residing planet of Brahma. Wherever there is the influence of eternal time, there is the set of tribulations, namely birth, disease, old age, and death. All of them are invisible.
Yeah, so Dhritarashtra might have thought, I can try to overcome death, but Vidura is explaining it's not possible. The force by which a living entity dies is Kala, who is Krishna himself, and nobody can overcome Kala, as nobody can overcome Krishna. Okay? Next.
Whoever is under the influence of Supreme Kala, eternal time, must surrender his most dear life, and what to speak of other things such as wealth, honor, children, land, and home.
So Kala, under Kala, everything is destroyed. Everything has to be given up. Nobody can hold it. Next verse.
Your father, brother, well-wishers, and son are all dead and passed away. You yourself have expended the major portion of your life. Your body is now overtaken by invalidity, and you are living in the home of another.
Purport.
Purport. The king is reminded of his precarious condition influenced by cruel time, and by his past experience, he should have been more intelligent to see what was going to happen to his own life. His father Vichitravirya died long ago when he and his younger brother were all little children. and yet was due to the care and kindness of Bhismadev that they were properly brought up. Then again his brother Pandu died also. Then in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, his 100 sons and his grandsons all died, along with all other well-wishers like Bhismadev, Dronacharya, Karna, and many other kings and friends. So he had lost all men and money, and now he was living at the mercy of his nephew, who he had put into troubles of various types. And despite all these reverses, he thought that he would prolong his life more and more. Vidura wanted to point out to Dhritarashtra that everyone has to protect himself by his action and the grace of Lord. One has to execute his duty faithfully, depending for the result on the supreme authority. No friend, no children, no father, no brother, no state, and no one else can protect a person who is not protected by the Supreme Lord. One should therefore seek the protection of Supreme Lord, and the human form of life is meant for seeking that protection. He was warned of his precarious condition more and more by the following words.
So there's an example of a goat in a slaughterhouse eating grass, and a goat before that goat is being killed. But the goat eating grass thinks, this will not happen to me, and is enjoying grass. That goat is called foolish. And so are we. Everybody before us has died. But we continue to enjoy thinking, I will not die. Everything will be okay. But no, death has to come. Nobody can escape death, as sure as death. But for a devotee, death is an opportunity, not a problem. An opportunity to leave this material body and go back to Krishna. But for that we have to prepare. So this life is a preparation to purify our heart, our consciousness. So at the time of death we are fully Krishna conscious. Then we can go back to Krishna. No more birth in this material world. Don't come back in the womb of the mother again for 9 months, upside down, and the birth come out of the womb, and then forcibly you will be sent to school, and you have to study A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then 3 ones are 3, 3 twos are 6, 3 threes are 9. Then Baba, black sheep. Then Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Then A plus B square is A square plus 2AB plus B square. Then sin square theta plus cos square theta. Oh God. Do you want to really do this again? So this life, last life, fully determined to go back to Krishna, whatever it takes. No more birth again in this universe. So we have that opportunity this life by joining Brahmacharya ashram, that full time I serve Krishna, purify myself and go back to Krishna. Don't come back. And if you come back next life, the syllabus will be more difficult. Huh? There are more theorems and more research happening, so the syllabus will increase, the number of fundamental particles will increase, number of theorems will increase, and you will have to study so many other things. Unnecessary waste of time. So don't repeat the mistake again. This life, last life. Okay? Next.
You have been blind from your very birth, and recently you have become hard of hearing. Your memory is shortened, and your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth are loose, your liver is defective, and you are coughing up mucus.
So that's old age, where body is becoming invalid. And there's a notice that death is going to come. You know old age? Jara is daughter of Kal, Kala Kanya. and she married to Bhay, fear of death. You know the story? So Jara, she wanted to marry, so she approached Narad Muni. And Narad Muni said, no, I am a brahmachari. But I will send you to Bhay. He will marry you. So Bhay thought that I have service to Krishna. And the service is I have to induce all the people before death to be fearful so that they take up Krishna consciousness. But it's not working. My project is not successful. So he thought, okay, Jara I will use. I'll send old age to people's bodies. So they will get a clear-cut notice that now death is going to come. So the fear will be generated and they will practice bhakti. So he arranged Jara's marriage with his brother Prajavar, which is high fever. So before that there is high fever. So this old age, Jara has come to Dhritarashtra. Now he should understand that I am very close to death. I have to practice Krishna consciousness. So that's what Vidura is explaining. And that's going to happen with us also. So we have to be prepared. Okay? Next.
भीमा पवर्जितं पिंडम आदत्ते ग्रहपालवत्. Alas, how powerful are the hopes of a living being to continue his life. Verily, you are living just like a household dog and are eating remnants of food given by Bhima.
So a sadhu should be speaker of truth, not necessarily speaker of sweet language. If there's option or choice between two, then you should choose truth. If you can manage to speak truth sweetly, that's fine. But if not, then don't choose sweet language, choose truth. That's the job of a sadhu. Just like a surgeon uses sharp blade, sharp instruments to cut the infection of the body, a sadhu uses sharp words to cut the infection of the heart. So the tools of sadhu are sharp words of truth. That doesn't give us a license to be always sharp with everybody we meet. Don't be in a sadhu mode of sharp words, surgery mode, whomever you meet in the ashram or on the road. No, sometimes it's required, and we should be like that when we speak on such occasions or even we give a class. At the same time, we have to, it should not happen that the operation is successful and the patient is dead. So it should not happen that our surgery is such that the person doesn't come back to temple only. And you think, I am successful, I spoke truth. So it should be spoken, truth should be spoken, sharpness should be there, but it should also accompany with success, that a person takes up the instruction and transforms himself. The cure should happen. Okay? Purport.
A sadhu should never flatter kings or rich men to live comfortably at their cost. A sadhu is to speak to the householders about the naked truth of life, so that they may come to their senses about the precarious life in material existence. Dhritarashtra is a typical example of an attached old man in household life. He had become a pauper in the true sense, yet he wanted to live comfortably in the house of the Pandavas, of whom Bhima especially is mentioned because personally he killed two prominent sons of Dhritarashtra, namely Duryodhan and Dushasan. These two sons were very much dear to him for their notorious and nefarious activities, and Bhima is particularly pointed out because he killed these two pet sons. Why was Dhritarashtra living there at the house of the Pandavas? Because he wanted to continue his life comfortably even at the risk of all humiliation. Vidura therefore was astonished how powerful is the urge to continue life. The sense of continuing one's life indicates that a living being is eternally a living entity and does not want to change his bodily habitation. The foolish man does not know that a particular term of bodily existence is awarded to him to undergo a term of imprisonment, and the human body is awarded after many, many births and deaths as a chance for self realization to go back home, back to Godhead. But persons like Dhritarashtra try to make plans to live there in a comfortable position with profit and interest, for they do not see things as they are. Dhritarashtra is blind and continues to hope to live comfortably in the midst of all kinds of reverses of life. A sadhu like Vidura is meant to awaken such blind persons and thus help them go back to Godhead, where life is eternal. Once going there, no one wants to come back to this material world of miseries. We can just imagine how responsible a task is entrusted to a sadhu like Mahatma Vidura.
So a sadhu should not depend on rich people for his maintenance. Then he cannot speak truth to them, because he will think, oh, if they get disappointed with me, they will stop the rotis or the envelopes or the paneer sabji or whatever, halwa or dry fruits. So no, sadhu should depend on Krishna, simple living, high thinking, and speak truth. Speak truth as it is, explain to the materialist about his illusion and attachment to sense gratification and his eternal relationship with Krishna, and that his goal of life should be to come out of this material existence and exclusively serve Krishna. That's the duty of a sadhu, like a duty of a surgeon. A surgeon cannot say, oh, if I cut with knife, he will feel pain. No, he has to cut the body and he has to cut the infection. Otherwise the patient will die. So you cannot be sentimental. So sadhu should not be sentimental in his preaching. While taking care of emotions and feelings of the person, he should help him to rise above these emotions and feelings, as Vidura is doing. So that's the responsibility, and there are very, very few sadhus in the world. It's a rare species. So it's very much required to preach more and more, to go to more and more people and talk to them and preach to them. So we should do that 24 hours. Otherwise this world is doomed. Without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, this world is finished. The golden age is there by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where people can easily practice Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, you just see within last 20 years what has happened to this world. Earlier Maya was outside the temple, now it's in the pocket. What will happen next 20 years? And what 50 and 100 years? Very precarious condition. Very difficult condition. So we have to maintain our purity very strongly and preach boldly and save as many people as possible. Okay? Yes, Mithilapati Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, two questions are there. First, from Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says, Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyam hitam chayast. So then they are priya. So how then here we can understand both things?
No, this relationship of Vidura and Dhritarashtra is not a stranger relationship. This is a relationship where Dhritarashtra can accept these words of Vidura because he has been speaking to him since long years. So he knows what he can take.
Okay, no, but here it is said that a sadhu he should always speak naked truth. When he should never flatter kings or rich men for. So the sadhu should always speak naked truth.
Yes. But in a way that can be accepted and followed. The goal is not to speak truth and say, I am successful. The sadhu should speak truth, naked truth. But that is not called success. The success is when the truth transforms the person. The surgeon should use knife, but the success is not cutting the body of the patient. Success is to cure the patient. So one should know how much that person can take and what language one should use. Same truth. We don't have to compromise, but we have to choose the words in such a way that the target audience accepts it and transforms his heart. Right? So there are different ways to speak the same truth to different audiences. Right?
And the second thing is often means not much of experience, but I have observed that devotees going for collection, so they speak in a kind of compromised languages. They speak truth, but then not in that kind of like, so that little bit flattering also, both things like involved, so that.
Yeah, so those who are not comfortable, they don't do that service. That's how things work. So that requires a different service attitude to be able to do that, still be true to truth. That yes, I can manage to eventually cultivate this person and give them higher truth. So it requires a tact. So if you are not comfortable, you can need of the hour. As per need of the hour, we can do. Okay? So those who give money, they expect some respect. And it's austerity to give them respect so that they are engaging Krishna service. So not everybody is managing to do that. But nothing wrong about giving respect. Even if the position is not respectable. Amanina manadena. We give respect to everybody. So there's a tact. Okay? For the service of Krishna. But when they inquire, you go to a donor who is giving money and they inquire, the answer should be very, very straightforward. Answer should not be compromised. The philosophy should not be compromised. Okay?
So recently this case of Amoglila Prabhuji which happened, so he answered in the question answer session, and then in a public domain he used the word, although it was truth, but then these all consequences happened. So I was thinking that if during Prabhupada's time social media would have been there, so they would have banned him for so
Not
many times.
necessarily. So I also heard from some devotee, actually I heard from a congregation. I don't know the full thing, neither I saw what he spoke or whatever, but I heard from a devotee after I came from Bhubaneswar. So it's not necessary that they would have banned Prabhupada if Prabhupada uses the same language. It's not like that. Institutionally, there are some strengths and weaknesses which play the part. So a different section of devotees would be for and against such a decision. Right? So a preacher has to be very mature to know he's representing the ISKCON society, and the final success should happen, that growth should happen. So he has to very maturely present it. And such incidents can happen, we don't have to bother about it. Right? So Prabhupada also said that I am doing it, but you don't do it. Don't tell names. And he told in one letter, don't tell names, but still defeat the philosophy. So speaking against meat eating and speaking against meat eater, they are two different things. And speaking against a meat eater whose sentimental value as a leader is very high in a society, right? So one should not disturb the PR situation. Okay? So one devotee wrote an article in BTG about Vallabhacharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, some weakness of Vallabhacharya has been shared. And he wrote that in BTG. And that BTG was gifted to Sumati Morarji, who sent Prabhupada to America on her ship and who gave lots of money multiple times to Prabhupada for book printing. And she helped Prabhupada with this also. At one point, they were in talk with Sumati Morarji to for her to make a school also in Hare Krishna land by her sponsorship. So that was a big donor, Sumati Morarji. So she was very upset. So she wrote Prabhupada that how can your disciples write against Vallabhacharya? He is Acharya of Pushti Marg and I am follower of Pushti Marg. And very big sentiment. And he's a Vaishnava, a Nadwar, right? So Prabhupada wrote her, and Prabhupada wrote to his disciple also that you should be very careful. And Prabhupada wrote to her that yes, my disciples are little immature, they have presented it. But then Prabhupada explained to her also then still it is present in Chaitanya Chaitamrita. So they just took from there, it's not their mistake also. So Prabhupada balanced it out both the sides. Right? It's appropriate also, it's not appropriate also. He told to both. Right? So these things can happen. It will always happen. If there are more than two people in a room, some noise will happen. So we don't have to worry. We have to continue preaching. So some incidents happen, that should not reduce our boldness and straightforwardness. We should just understand how to express it without disturbing the audience. But finally some people will get disturbed, you cannot avoid. If you speak truth about a sinful activity in a room of 20 people, those who are performing that sinful activity, they are going to be offended. Right? So that's fact. It will happen. So according to our experience and maturity, we continue preaching. But in the core, a devotee sadhu should speak truth. That should be his core quality. Renounced person. So institutions have come now. Earlier there were no institutions. So this PR thing would not be there. There would be some consideration, definitely, but not in the terms of institutions. So institutions have come now, so we have to be extra careful, but still we have to preach. Right? Okay? So some things would be gray area, and if you talk about ethics, whether it is right or wrong, appropriate or inappropriate, so this is called consequence-based ethics. So what I did was right or wrong is decided after it is done. What is the result? Right? So a question here cannot be answered on something which is going to be judged after the performance of the task and the result of the task. So some tasks, whether right or wrong, are defined after the consequences are visible. So cannot be generally answered. So we do as per experience, maturity. Okay? Next.
करोदारश्च दूषितः हृतं क्षेत्रं धनं येषां तद्दत्तैरशुभे कियत्. There is no need to live a degraded life and subsist on the charity of those whom you tried to kill by arson and poisoning. You also insulted one of their wives and usurped their kingdom and wealth.
Yeah, that's okay. One more thing I wanted to continue for Mithilapati Prabhu. Just not it's about me, but I just want to share one incident. That I was giving a class in Belapur. There is a SIDCO building. They made the whole Navi Mumbai city. So they have a very nice auditorium, very big auditorium. So they called all the engineers of Navi Mumbai SIDCO, whoever built the city, all the engineers, very big class engineers. And the chief engineer was also the CEO of SIDCO. He was our well-wisher. So I gave a class where I defined intelligence as one who takes up Krishna consciousness. Otherwise he is not intelligent. He is only academically intelligent. That's computational or arithmetically intelligence, but not real intelligence. So the chief engineer, CEO, he asked me that I have engineers here who can solve problems of the city's plumbing or drainage or crowd management or traffic lights or electrical grid in 2 minutes, which a common man will take years to understand the problem or months to understand the problem. So how can you say they are not intelligent? So I said, do your engineers smoke cigarette? I said, yes. So it's written on the cigarette packet, is injurious to health. Reading that if somebody smokes cigarette, that means he's smoking something which is injurious to health. You tell me, should I call him intelligent or not? And he had no answer. If I give you a glass of water with a small particle, black particle, will you drink that glass of water? Nahi, chi, ganda pani, something black is there. Right? So when you're smoking cigarette, what you're doing? If the same item is in the water, you will not drink it. But here you are taking it and doctors say it causes cancer. Which intelligent person would take a puff of cancer? So they are only academically intelligent, they are not really intelligent. If they are really intelligent, they will not smoke. Simple. Right? Only a fool will destroy his health. Right? So it's like that. Okay, next verse.
To die and your desire to live even at the cost of honor and prestige. Your miserly body will certainly dwindle and deteriorate like an old garment.
Purport.
The words Kripannasya Jijivisho are significant. There are two classes of men. One is called Kripana and the other is called Brahmana. The Kripana or the miserly man has no estimation of his material body. But the Brahmana has a true estimation of himself and the material body. The Kripana, having a wrong estimation of his material body, wants to enjoy sense gratification with his utmost strength, and even in old age he wants to become a young man by medical treatment or otherwise. Dhritarashtra is addressed here as Kripana because without any estimation of material body he wants to live at any cost. Vidura is trying to open his eyes to see that he cannot live more than his term and that he must prepare for death. Since death is inevitable, why should he accept such an humiliating position for living? It is better to take the right path, even at the risk of death. Human life is meant for finishing all kinds of miseries of material existence, and life should be so regulated that one can achieve the desired goal. Dhritarashtra, due to his wrong conception of life, had already spoiled 80% of his achieved energy, so it behooved him to utilize the remaining days for his miserly life for the ultimate good. Such a life is called miserly because one cannot properly utilize the assets of human form of life. Only by good luck does such a miserly man meet a self-realized soul like Vidura, and by his instruction get rid of the nescience of material existence.
So Kripana, Brahmana. So human life is meant for self-realization. Somebody uses for sense gratification, that's called Kripana, miserly. Miser in general means a person who has money but he doesn't use it. So you have body but you don't use it. Using it for sense gratification is not called use because it's not meant for it. It's meant for self-realization. But I use for sense gratification. So I am not using it for self-realization, that's Kripana. Just protecting it but no use. Protecting money but not using it. Saving money but not using it. That's miser. Just like, suppose I am in a class like this, not this one class, some other class, and I get angry on one of the student, very angry, and I take my iPhone and hit him, and it hits on his head and blood comes out. Will my anger subside? No or yes? Yes, my anger will subside. I will say, wow, this Apple company makes nice weapons. So I can use this iPhone as a weapon. And it will be successful also. But I am a Kripana. The iPhone is not made for a weapon. It's made for a communication device. So I can use it and I be successful also. but I am a Kripana. So today modern scientists and people are using this human form to generate a technology which is successful in communication, in transportation, in factories, successful. But actually they are Kripana. Why? Because this human body is not made for having material advancement, which is possible. Human made for spiritual advancement. So sometimes they think America and Western countries are more advanced than India. They have used their energy for material advancement. Many spiritual practitioners in India, they are intelligent, but they are not using their energy for material advancement. So they are Kripana, because they are not using the body for self-realization. So just because you are using something and you are successful, that doesn't mean you are correct. Success is not equal to correct. So modern science and modern technology and modern engineering is successful. That doesn't mean it is correct. Correct is when it is as per scriptures, as per Guru Sadhu Shastra. Not correct as per results, profits, success. No. So we use body for Krishna consciousness. That's success. So to change our definitions. Others we are Kripana. A Brahmana is for self-realization. Animal body is for sense gratification. Human body is not for sense gratification. So if you use human body for sense gratification, you are missing. It's like this, you have a 2000 rupee note, you go to the shop and say, Bhai Sahab, I want one 10 rupee note. Take this 2000 rupee note and give me 10 rupee note. Exchange. What you did? You gave a high value note and took a low value note. So when you do sense gratification, you are using high value energy and getting a low value benefit. But if you go to Radha Raspberry and pay obeisances, you are using a low value body and getting a higher value benefit. By paying obeisances or chanting Hare Krishna, you are getting something more. That means you gave 20 and got 2000. So if I sleep at 4:30 in the morning, I got what I got. I got something low value out of investment of half an hour. But if I wake up and go to Mangala Arati, that half an hour, I invested half an hour, but I got something more than half an hour. I got eternal benefit, which is more than half an hour. Sleep of half an hour is less than half an hour, is less value than half an hour. I will get temporary benefit. So only fool person will exchange 2000 rupee with 10 rupee. A Brahmana will not do that. A Brahmana will exchange his half an hour with 4 rounds. Only a foolish will put half an hour in YouTube and Facebook, which is worthy of 4 rounds, or if you are fast, 6 rounds, or 20 pages of Bhagavatam. That should be major. Kripana. Don't be Kripana. Don't use this body for sense gratification. Don't waste your time. Use it for Krishna consciousness. Chant, read, hear, talk, discuss, remember, serve. Anything, everything connected to Krishna. Free time, just read and chant. Talk about Krishna, whomever you meet among devotees. Today I read this, what did you read? And that's Bodhyanta Parasparam, that's enlivening each other. Not Prajalpa, but enlivening each other. So we should use our time for something getting higher value, eternal value, not lower value. Then you're a foolish person, wasting time. Foolish person. Don't sell your time for something lower. Okay? I'm getting into preaching mode, huh? Should I change the channel? No. Okay? Because that obey is obey from that. Obey. Open हाँ हाँ क्या? Oh, I don't want to give answers. Okay, next.
He is called undisturbed, who goes to an unknown, remote place and freed from all obligations. Quiet his material body when it has become useless.
Dhira. Okay, purport.
Narottam Das Thakur, a great devotee and acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava sect, has sung, "My Lord, I have simple wasted my life, having obtained the human body. I have neglected to worship your Lordship, and therefore I have willingly drunk poison. In other words, the human body is especially meant for cultivating knowledge of devotional service to the Lord, without which life become full of anxieties and miserable conditions. Therefore, one who has spoiled his life without such cultured activities is advised to leave home without knowledge of friends and relatives, and being thus freed from all obligations of family, society, country, etc. Give up the body at the same some unknown destination, so that others may not know where and how he has meet his death. Dhir means one who is not disturbed even when there is a sufficient provocation. One cannot give up a comfortable family life due to his affectionate relation with wife and children. Self realization is obstructed by such undue affection for family, and if anyone is at all able to forget such a relation, he is called undisturbed or dhira. This is, however, the path of renunciation based on frustrated life. But stabilization of such renunciation is possible only by association with the bona fide saints and self realized souls, by which one can engage in the loving devotional service of the Lord. Sincere surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is possible by awaking the transcendental senses of the sense of service. This is made possible by association with pure devotees of the Lord. Dhritarashtra was lucky to have brother whose very association was a source of liberation for the frustrated life.
So not this dhira word is coming in Bhagavad Gita also, to not feel disturbed when there is change or things around which are disturbing. So there is source of disturbance and I am not getting disturbed. That's dhira. And if you cannot be dhira, be tolerant. Tamas titikshava sabharata. Okay, you are disturbed but still you tolerate. From tolerance we can go to soberness, that I can become dhira. So here Dhritarashtra is attached and he wants him to be unattached. So telling him to give up this family affection, it is unnecessary obstacle. Grahastha life, whatever it is, can be very, very struggle and challenging. Individually you have to control your 6 senses. You marry, you have to control 12 senses. When you are a child, you have to control 18 senses. Then 24. Then mother-in-law, father-in-law are separately. Oh God. So this is better. not have family affection and family. Even if somebody has, he should give up. Should retire from family attachment, family affection, social life, economic life, earning life, responsibility in family affairs. He should give up. And that's possible by association of pure devotees. When we develop service attitude, we can surrender to Krishna. If you want to increase your surrender, increase your service attitude. Have seva bhav. Have eagerness to serve. Anything around you or anybody around you, you understand there's a need of service, be happy to cooperate and participate in that service. Try it out. It will work more faster to surrender to Krishna. Without service attitude, we cannot realize Krishna is non-different from his holy name. And Radha Rasva is non-different from his deity form. And non-different from Srimad Bhagavatam book. For that we need service attitude. So by developing service attitude, the very chanting we are doing will be completely realized that yes, Krishna is non-different from his holy name. That's Shuddha Naam, pure holy name. So we can reach that stage by service. So we should be eager to do service, especially brahmacharis staying in the ashram of spiritual master. Brahmacharya is meant for service, not lazy, sitting around, escaping services. No, we are meant for service. Less eating, less sleeping. Okay, as per the health, we should be happy to do more and more services. Enthusiastic to serve devotees. And in that way we can advance in bhakti. Okay? Yes, Madhav Sundar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Guruji, you were mentioning that without increasing surrender, we cannot realize name and Krishna is same.
Without?
Without increasing our surrender or service attitude, we cannot realize that Krishna is in holy name. So how this
Krishna is not in holy name.
means Krishna and holy name are same.
Yeah.
So how this happens actually? If somebody is increasing surrender or increasing service attitude, how he can realize?
So, Naam, Krishna's name, gives his mercy to us when he is pleased with us. And he is pleased with us when we serve him. So without service attitude, we cannot realize Krishna is non-different from his holy name. Only to servants this is given. Those who are not servants, this is not given. And how a servant is judged? By service attitude, by seva bhav. Right? If you have more than one servant and you have to give something valuable, on what basis you will give? More beautiful.
Dear to us, or
On what basis you will decide that he is more dear, he is less dear?
service attitude. His service attitude.
Servant means service attitude. Then only you get the gift of the master. Then only the master will be pleased and give you something valuable. The most valuable Krishna gives is his whole name and his prema, Shuddha Naam. That's only possible by service attitude. That is the only relationship we have with Krishna of service, of love. So he will give something valuable only when we do our service. There is no other way. Right? Is that okay?
One more question. That dhira and sober difference. Just I understood that dhira means who is not disturbed by this sense, some sense itching or so, and tolerant means who has some impetus or some impulse, but he is not attending it. This is tolerant.
Dhira and sober.
No, tolerant and sober. What is the difference?
No. So there is a change around me and I am not disturbed. That's dhira, sober. There is change around me and I am in pain, but I still maintain my duty. That's tolerance. Okay? So, the primary requirement to be tolerant is to have experience of pain. If you do not have experience of pain, your response cannot be called tolerance. If I give you gulab jamun and you say, Chalo, I will tolerate it. No, you don't have pain by eating gulab jamun. You are enjoying actually. So you cannot say, I tolerated gulab jamun today. Right? So tolerance requires pain. So when we have pain and we continue our duty, that's tolerance. When we are not disturbed, that's dhira. Even though ideally others would get disturbed by that. So pain you may have. You are not stone. So somebody insults you, or there is provocation. You will have pain because you are not stone, but you are not disturbed. Your mind is not agitated. In tolerance, you are disturbed, you have pain, but you are continuing your duty. Another thing is that if there is a sense object in front of a dhira, we will not be disturbed. Person who is not dhira, he will be disturbed. He will have attraction, attachment. But he will tolerate. So he'll have to struggle inside not to contact the sense object. A dhira will not have that struggle. So if there's a jalebi and you're chanting Hare Krishna and it's hot Mahaprasad, tolerance means you're struggling abhi. Kholu, nahi kholu. Dhira will see and chant. Mayavadi will get afraid and throw it. Like that. Okay? Yes, Sharad.
In this verse, when it is said about going to a remote place and freed from all obligations, so obligations is generally related to the body, right? Like bodily duties, as it is mentioned here, parents, relatives, and all these things. So, but then just because of not getting freed from this kind of obligations, how can it be called as dhira? Because what about the mental status, and like, because the mind is not yet, it is still hooked to those attachments. So just by getting freed from such obligations, like, we can't say that he is a dhira. How to understand this?
So obligations are just physical, they are emotional also. So if Yudhishthira Maharaj is ill, just for example, Dhritarashtra will have some emotional pain and he will go and ask, hey, how are you? I heard you are ill. Even that is an obligation, right? If he doesn't ask, what will people say around? See, he didn't even ask the king, how is he? Right? So obligation. So when you are in a remote place, all these things don't exist. But the very determination go to a remote place is only when you are free from such disturbances. Otherwise you will not go. Right? To go away from the place, your family, your house, to a remote place where nobody knows you, requires a very great determination. Right? So all of you who joined, you're very great. So Mahatma, Sudurlabha, rare species. How many brahmacharis would be there in ISKCON? 3,000? Answer. How much population is there? Lakhs in ISKCON. And billions in the world. 3,000 brahmacharis. It's a very rare species. Less than the tigers. So the only way to protect tigers is to protect brahmacharis, mahatmas. Because they will preach not to kill tigers. Otherwise people will keep killing. So if the government wants to save tiger, first should save brahmacharis. They should start a project to save brahmachari. Then they can save tigers and other animals. Because they will preach not to eat non-veg and not to hunt. It's very rare to give a family life, to give up career, to give up earning potential, to give up lust, to give up marriage or potential spouse, not to marry. It's very rare. It's not easy. Okay?
And then in the purport, the fourth line, fifth line, it's mentioned, therefore one who has spoiled his life without such cultural activities is of cultivating knowledge of devotional service and things, is advised to leave home without knowledge of friends and thus freed from all obligations, give up the body at some unknown destination. So one who has not gone into such culture of devotional activities, how his mind will be peaceful then if he just renounces like that?
He'll go with Vidura, no? Not alone. He'll go with a guide. Or there will be guide at remote places who have already gone. The Rishi Munis who stay at such remote places. It's advised to go and stay in an ashram. So if somebody is living house, he should advise to go and stay in an ashram, not alone in the forest, if he is not experienced. And then he gets guidance.
I was just thinking about that point. Yeah.
So today they can go to Vrindavan or go to ISKCON temples after training new Bhakta department. Yes, Aditya Ram Prabhu.
Prabhuji, you were explaining that sahan karna, to tolerate, and dhira, these are two different phenomena.
Yes, they have some overlap as well. But yes.
Because first very sloka of Envai says, Yo visahet dhira. In my first verse it says, Yo visahet dhira.
Yeah, so?
So, dhira has to sahanshilta.
Yeah, a dhira will be a tolerant person. See, we have to understand these terms are not labels. So a person is called dhira, but at some other circumstances he may still have pain and disturbance and he is tolerating. Right? So for example, you go and slap a dhira and he doesn't bother. But he falls down from first floor and his bone break and he has lots of pain and he cries. He says, look, he is not dhira. No. There are two different circumstances. In one in which he is tolerating pain, other is not disturbed by pain. So it's not a label. It is a general, like brahmachari, what we consider it as a label, but it's a general character of a boy who is celibate, staying in Guru's ashram and serving Krishna. But there may be some plus and minuses. Engineer, does it mean all people who are called engineer are same intelligent? No. Khichdi, does it mean all khichdis of the world are same? No. Two people make khichdi, same ingredient, still something different comes out. So two dhiras may not be equal dhiras. So we don't label it in that way. The core point is that there may be pain, but there is no disturbance. They maintain their duties. That is the core point. And these terms which are indicating subtle qualities can be sometimes used interchangeably also. So a higher term can be used for a lower term and a lower term sometimes can be used for higher term because these are subtle qualities. These are not measurable qualities. Right? So somebody may say, how many people were in the class? I'll say 20-25. अरे कल तो बोला था 22, कल तो बोला था 26. right? So it's not a measurable, because we are not measuring it. It's measurable, but we are not measuring it. We are generally saying 25 log aaye the, 30 log aaye the, right? Like that. It's like that. So these are not measurable qualities, these are indicators. Indicators of the core quality that Dhira is generally one who doesn't get disturbed. Then there is Narottam, then there is Sannyasi. So we'll come to that terms also. Okay? So, of course, we don't judge devotees, but if you are judging, don't make labels, because devotees undergo change. When you meet somebody and see a particular quality or absence of quality, next year don't think it will be same situation, because the devotee is chanting and the three modes are acting. It may be plus or it may be minus also. There may be upgradation or degradation also. Okay? Okay, all dhiras, we continue? Like you are all tolerating me since 3 days. So that's dhira or tolerance? That's right. Okay, next.
यस्वाकात् परतो वेह जात निर्वेद आत्मवान् हृदि कृत्वा हरिङ्गेहात् प्रवजेत् स नरोत्तम. He is certainly a first-class man who awakens and understands either by himself or from others the falsity and misery of this material world, and thus leaves home and depends fully on the personality of Godhead residing within the heart.
So now that's Narottam, above dhira. Let's read.
There are three classes of transcendentalists, namely Dhira, the one who is not disturbed by being away from the family association. Second, one in the renounced order of life of sannyasi by frustrated sentiment. Second, one in the renounced order of life, a sannyasi by frustrated sentiment. And third, a sincere devotee of the Lord who awakens God consciousness by hearing and chanting and leaves home depending completely on the personality of Godhead who resides in his heart. The idea is that the renounced order of life, after a frustrated life of sentiment in the material world, may be stepping stone on the path of self-realization, but real perfection of the path of liberation is attained when one is practiced to depend fully on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who lives in everyone's heart as Paramatma. One may live in the darkest jungle alone out of home, but steadfast devotee knows very well that he is not alone. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is with him, and he can protect his sincere devotee in any awkward circumstance. One should therefore practice devotional service at home, hearing and chanting the holy name, quality, form, pastime, entourage, etc., in association with pure devotees. And this practice will help one awaken God consciousness in proportion to one's sincerity of purpose. One who desires material benefit by such devotional activities can never depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he sits in everyone's heart. Nor does the Lord give any direction to persons who worship him for material gain. Such materialistic devotees may be blessed by the Lord with material benefits, but they cannot reach the stage of the first-class human being, as above mentioned. There are many examples of such sincere devotees in the history of the world, especially in India, and they are our guides on the path of self-realization. Mahatma Vidur is one such great devotee of the Lord, and we should all try to follow in his lotus feet for self-realization.
Yeah. Okay? Narottam, one who is clear, awakened, clearly understands, convinced that I should be serving Krishna. First class. And he continues to serve Krishna in association of devotees. He can be self-inspired or inspired by other devotees. He continues to serve Krishna. completely depending on him. Okay?
Yes, very frustrated sentiment.
So that generally sannyas ashram goes after grahastha and vanaprastha ashram. And the word grahastha and the word frustration are very close in the dictionary. So his inspiration comes from the frustration of material, attempt of material sense enjoyment. That doesn't mean he is bad or something. Just that that becomes a platform for him to renounce. And that's fine. Hmm? Khatte angur. That becomes a platform for renunciation. You try something and it keep on giving painful and you want it. But you keep on giving pain, pain, pain. Finally, out of frustration, you renounce it. As I don't want it. Standing in the sun for the bus and the bus is not coming. At one time, you'll be frustrated and you give up. I don't want bus. Auto le leta hu main. Right? It's like that. Yeah.
So, Prabhuji, such kind of renunciation is actually inviting more desires to enjoy, like such kind of bhog and tyag. So, such out of frustration, if we do something like we tyag something, and that increases our tendency to do bhoga next time whenever we get some opportunity.
No, so it's not just frustration. It is a platform where, because of frustration, one associates and realizes that I should renounce the attempt of sense gratification. That's varnashram, brahmachari, grahasth, vanaprastha, sannyas. So sannyas here is after grahasth and vanaprastha when trained in brahmachari ashram. So after brahmachari ashram, when he marries, he tries to enjoy. But he is disciplined also because he is trained in brahmachari ashram. But eventually he knows there is a frustration in all these activities and he takes up maturely sannyas and he continues. Before sannyas there is vanaprastha, so there is again a discipline training and purification. So there is purification of bhoga. He has done bhoga and he has got frustrated, which material existence is. So in vanaprastha he purifies his desire of enjoyment. That's retired life. And in the vanaprastha if he is successful, then only he takes sannyas. If a vanaprastha is not good, successful, he doesn't take sannyas. Then he remains as a vanaprastha and dies.
So then instead of saying that renunciation through frustration, we should say renunciation through wisdom.
It is not through, it is a platform. Because we are defining three different kinds of transcendentalists. So it's not a negative term which is used here. It is a platform wherein he has gone through. It's just to distinguish between three, this word is used. That this is a platform he has gone through. So don't see it in that way. That generally a person becomes frustrated and gets further entangled. It's not that way. So there are other factors also involved in that. It is just categorization. Like I may categorize all the devotees here into three: saffron, white, yellow. Or I may categorize all devotees here into departments: New Bhakta, IYF, Sankirtan, Temple. I can do different categorization and reach different number. It may be 3, it may be 7, or it may be categorization through states. Somebody from Maharashtra, somebody from Rajasthan, somebody from Gujarat, somebody from this. I can give different categorization to this group and reach to a different number. Right? So this is just a categorization in this way. Okay? Yes, Madhav Sundar.
Just wanted to be clarified. This categorization is based on what, Guruji?
That Dhira One who is not disturbed, staying away from family. Sannyasi, one who has gone through family and received frustration. Family life is frustrating. And Narottam, who has awakened his God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, that yes, I should serve Krishna. These three people staying in the forest or remote location. So that doesn't mean all sannyasis today are number two. No, there may be sannyasis who are Dhira, there may be sannyasis who are Narottams, but they are in sannyas ashram. Okay?
In purport, Prabhupada mentions that one who desires material benefit by such devotional service can never depend on the Supreme Personality, although he is sitting. So Lord doesn't give direction to such person. But then in Gita, such persons are considered as pious. And how is it like? Why Lord is not giving direction to? So how will
Lord giving direction directly in the heart is only to a very great soul. One who wants sense gratification, the Lord will not communicate to him like he communicates with great souls. So, somebody who has awakened his relationship with Krishna, that is very different. Right? So, he is pious, but he is not under Yoga Maya, receiving directions from Krishna. Somebody like Prahlad Maharaj, he is receiving directions from Krishna. Yes.
यह स्वकात parato veha, that either he himself gets this awakening or he hears from others and gets that awakening. So like we see in current context also that when we try to preach or we ourselves also, so how to sustain that spirit, and like we try initially to depend fully and we try to join and things like that, but then in due course of time, when that inspiration, it has not developed on our own within ourselves, then how will we be able to sustain that if we are just we came because of the inspiration by others?
We continue till we develop. We continue. Those who made us join, they are also there. We got inspired from somebody, they are also there, so we continue. Or that kind of people are there in the ashram. We continue, take support from sadhana, morning program, chanting, reading, Bhagavatam, other inspiring devotees. We continue chanting and hearing. And this is required for everybody, even self-inspired. It is required for everybody to continue to be in touch. Like a mobile, every night you have to charge so that you can use it next day. It gets discharged. So we get discharged. Right? Like preachers who spend time with boys. If whole day you are with juniors, then you are discharging yourself. Somewhere you have to be with seniors, so you charge yourself. So you take something from higher level and charge yourself, then you give to lower level. Right? So everybody has different sources of inspiration. For somebody is DT, for somebody is chanting and dancing in the kirtan, for somebody is reading Bhagavatam, for somebody is a particular sadhu, for somebody is Mahaprasad, for somebody is house program. Everybody different sources of inspiration. They should stick to their sources of inspiration. So if you're highly inspired by reading, you should read more. If you're highly inspired by chanting and dancing in the deities, you should do that. If you're highly inspired with some devotees, you should spend time with them. Right? Somebody is more inspired by running around in the temple rather than sitting and reading. So you should engage in service. Of course, read also because that's primary. Right? So we should be in touch with sources of our inspiration, sources of our nourishment. Just like wherever you stay in the world, you will eat 3 times or 2 times. Because that's the source of your body's energy. You cannot avoid that. So wherever we are, we should stay to the source of our nutrition, our nourishment. That should happen. So chanting, dancing, reading, hearing, associating, serving. These are sources of our nourishment. That we should do.
So eventually it has to be understood by oneself only, like, because otherwise we will not be able to sustain.
Definitely, definitely. We cannot alone manage. It's a big illusion. We cannot alone manage. Never happens. We are not Haridas Thakur. Maya will capture us. We are very weak. So we should remain in International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Juhu, Hare Krishna Land, Mumbai 400049. We should remain in association of devotees. Even if we think we are advanced, seniors, 30 years in the movement, 40 years in the movement, we cannot. Just like grains are required, otherwise the body will become weak. So the sadhana and association and morning program is required, otherwise we become weak. At no point we should have a substitute for it. That I can manage without all this. Impossible. Okay? Many tried and failed. Bharat Maharaj was on Bhava Bhakti, but didn't work out. Alone cannot work out. The deer became so dear that he joined International Society for Deer Consciousness and failed. Right? So when Bharat Maharaj on Bhava Bhakti had this issue, what about us? We are on Bhava Bhakti? Abhav Bhakti. We are taking too much bhav for bhakti. So we should be very, very careful not to imitate and learn a lesson. Saubhari Muni, underwater, he got fall down. And we have history in our ISKCON institution, ISKCON society, we have a history of difficulties, even in sannyasis. So we should be very, very careful. Don't play with Maya, don't play with fire, don't be in illusion. Always be in association of devotees, we always require support. Okay? Yes, Aditya Ram Prabhu.
Prabhuji, regarding sober and tolerance, so sober, I felt that this is on intellectual level, that he is intellectually convinced, and tolerance means at mental level. If one is not intellectually convinced, then mentally he has to tolerate the things. Is it like that?
I don't know.
It appears so.
Okay, let me think about it. Next. Okay.
दिशं यातु स्वेरज्ञात गतिर्भवान् हितोर्वाक्याश्रकाल पुंसां गुणविकर्षण. Translation. Please, therefore, leave for the north immediately, without letting your relatives know, for soon that time will approach which will diminish the good qualities of men.
So north means towards Himalayas. That's generally a place acceptable for remote location to go and purify oneself. And not inform anybody, because if you inform anybody, they will weaken your determination. Say, mat jao, kal jao, rehne do, pizza kha rahe aaj pizza banayenge, kal jao, like that. So, Julan Yatra ke baad jao. So weaken your determination with some attachments, some weakness like that. Or pull you back. When you are leaving them, why you have to inform them? Why to weaken yourself? Or they will cry, then you will remember and get disturbed there that, oh, I should go back, they must be crying. So there are many reasons like that. Okay? Purport.
One can compensate for a life of frustration by becoming a dhira or leaving home for good without communicating with relatives. And Vidur advised his eldest brother to adopt this way without delay because quickly the age of Kali was approaching. A conditioned soul is already degraded by the material association, and still in Kali Yuga the good qualities of a man will deteriorate to the lowest standard. He was advised to leave home before Kali Yuga approached because the atmosphere which was created by Vidura, his valuable insight on the facts of life, would fade away due to the influence of the age which was fast approaching. To become Narottam or a first class human being depending completely on the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna is not possible for any ordinary man. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.28 that a person who is completely relieved of all taints of sinful acts can alone depend on the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Dhritarashtra was advised by Vidura at least to become a Dheer in the beginning. If it were impossible for him to become a sannyasi or a narottam, persistently endeavoring on the line of self-realization helps a person to rise to the condition of a narottam from the stage of a dhira. The dhira stage is attained after prolonged practice of the yoga system. But by the grace of Vidura, one can attain the stage immediately simply by willing to adopt the means of the dhira stage, which is the preparatory stage for a sannyas. The sannyasa stage is the preparatory stage of Paramhamsa or the first great devotee of the Lord.
Clear? Next. Okay.
Few of these shlokas, the emphasis is given on living without communicating. So of course do understand that why that is being spoken is because then like they will not come there again and again because attachment will develop more. They will send a message, where are you? So but then there is other side also to it, which is if they are not aware, then they may be in anxiety also. And that's the reason why in today's modern context also we see that we don't encourage devotees to
That's why dhira. So they are in anxiety and you are not disturbed by their anxiety. That's dhira. Got it? Dhira is
undisturbed
by others' anxiety. जाने दो, सोचने दो, मुझे क्या है, मैं जा रहा हूँ. There's dhira. Oh, I am worried, they will cry. Should I tell them and go? They will anyway cry if you tell them and go also. Right? Oh, they will be searching for me. Unnecessary petrol will be wasted. So that means you are not dhira, na? Unnecessary, my father will take leave and search for me or go to police station and police will search for me on wireless. That means you are not dhira, you are still bothered about what will happen. That's why dhira, not disturbed. Right? So that's fine. And they will understand. They are very mature people. Just one day they are absent, they will understand. Without telling somebody has gone means he doesn't want us to come contact him. Otherwise, why he is gone without telling? He would tell and go, na? Thousands of servants and maid servants are there. It's not for easy to go undetected, for a king to go undetected out of the palace. Right? So they will understand. 5,000 years now, we don't know this system. Earlier, every palace would have people who would leave at night. Anybody who leaves at night is understood. Understood why he has gone. He must have gone to Himalayas. It's understood. If a boy at 2 o'clock night, everybody sleeping, goes out of choice, what he will understand? He doesn't want to stay here, right? Simple. Otherwise he would tell, na, Prabhu, I am going, my mother is not well. I am going, I'll come back in 3 days. Tomorrow you see one room partner, your whole locker is empty and he is not there. What you will understand? Yeah, he doesn't want to stay here. Otherwise he would keep the material here, na? Right? Otherwise he'll tell somebody and go, na, I'll come in 3 days, or I'll come in 1 month, or my mother is not well, I am going. He's not telling anybody, it's very clear. No? He doesn't want, right, to be here. So at that time, these things would be common. So they would go, everybody will understand why they have gone. Either suicide or not suicide.
So that means this is like for current time it is not applicable, right? And we don't encourage also in the sense.
We don't make a policy like that. In some families it may be required.
It will be a big issue, media and things like that.
कुछ entertainment चाहिए ना? It depends. In some places it may be required. I know some devotees who are here and they're not, their families doesn't know where they are.
It may be 20 years back or maybe.
And they don't go outside the gate thinking that what if they meet the family in Andheri station. There was a brahmachari in bus many years before, very nice book distributor. But there's one city he would never get down from the bus. Every other place he would go and do book distribution. But that city he would never get down. 2 days he would sit inside the bus. And all devotees would complain, he's not doing go for book distribution. Every day he does. Finally we came to know that is the city from which he came and joined. So he was afraid if I get down and somebody from my family identifies me, there will be a problem. So there are some examples. There are some Islamic families or something. It may not be possible to communicate. So we cannot make a policy like that. But yeah, in your IVF local thing, you can make a policy. But philosophically, this is not wrong. When you're renouncing, you're renouncing. You have to renounce your anxiety and you're bothered about others' anxiety. That's not renunciation. You have to renounce others' anxiety also. Oh, what he will think of me. Or whether he will think of me. But whether he'll think of you or not, you are thinking of him, na? Right? So you have to renounce that also. So it's not wrong philosophically. In fact, the word cheating is used for this. Sanjaya uses the word cheating and Prabhupada gives examples of how this cheating is okay. Okay? We have left Krishna without informing him. What to speak about this? When we came from spiritual world here, did we inform Krishna, I am going, will come back in few years. I have to finish my degree in engineering. We didn't inform him, we just came. And we are not worried about Krishna's anxiety. And now we are worried about some dog's anxiety or some family's anxiety. It doesn't make sense. That's why Dhira, not get disturbed. Okay? Next, yes. Where? आगे क्वेश्चन बोलो ना. First of all, Dhritarashtra was not qualified. There was no direct train from Hastinapur to Dwarka for Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra was not qualified to go and surrender to Krishna. And second of all, that's a major primary thing. Second, locally speaking, Krishna had already disappeared when this event was occurring. Krishna and Yaduvans had already disappeared when this event was occurring. When Vidura came back, before that, already Yaduvans had disappeared. So even if Krishna was personally he was not accessible to Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra cannot go and surrender to Krishna. He cannot go and stay in Dwarka. He has to purify himself through Ashtanga Yoga. Okay? Okay? Like some boy wants to join. Radharaj is personally here, but would you allow him to join on the first day he meets you? No, not qualified. He has to get trained, right? It's like that. Next.
Raja Viduranja
प्रज्ञा चक्षुर्बोधिता चित्वा स्वेषु स्नेहपसान्द्रामिनो निश्चर्मा भ्रातर्सन्दर्शिताद्वा. Thus Maharaj Dhritarashtra, the scion of the family of Ajamid, firmly convinced by introspective knowledge, broke at once the strong network of familial affection by his resolute determination. Thus he immediately left home to set out on the path of liberation as directed by his younger brother Vidura.
Okay. We read next verse. Okay, we read the purport.
Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great preacher of the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam, has stressed the importance of association with sadhus, pure devotees of the Lord. He said that even by a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can achieve all perfection. We are not ashamed to admit that this fact was experienced in a practical life. Were we not favored by His divine grace, Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj? By a first meeting with for a few minutes only, it would have been impossible for us to accept this mighty task of describing Srimad Bhagavatam in English. Without seeing him at that opportunate moment, we could have become a very great business magnate, but never would we have been able to walk the path of liberation and be engaged in the factual service of the Lord under instructions of His divine grace. And here is another practical example by the action of Vidura's association with Dhritarashtra. Maharaj Dhritarashtra was tightly bound in a network of material affinities related to politics, economy, and family attachment. And he did everything in his power to achieve so-called success in his planned projects. But he was frustrated from the beginning to the end so far as his material activities were concerned. And yet, despite his life of failure, he achieved the greatest of all success in self-realization by the forceful instructions of a pure devotee of the Lord, who is a typical emblem of a sadhu. The scriptures enjoin, therefore, that one should associate with sadhus only, rejecting all other kinds of association, and by doing so, one will have ample opportunity to hear the sadhus, who can cut to pieces the bonds of illusory affection in the material world. It is a fact that the material world is a great illusion because everything appears to be a tangible reality, but at the next moment evaporates like the dashing foam of the sea or a cloud in the sky. A cloud in the sky undoubtedly appears to be a reality because it rains, and due to rains, so many temporary green things appear. But in the ultimate issue, everything disappears, namely the cloud, rain, and green vegetation, all in due course. The sky remains, and the varieties of sky or luminaries also remain forever. Similarly, the absolute truth, which is compared to the sky, remains eternally, and the temporary cloud-like illusion comes and goes away. Foolish living beings are attracted by the temporary cloud, but intelligent men are more concerned with the eternal sky with all its variegatedness.
Sorry. Yeah, this okay? Srila Prabhupada gives his own example of meeting his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Thakur, who told him to preach in English language in Western countries. And Prabhupada describes that great opportunity as momentary association which changed the history of his life. And that changed the history of the world. And that changed the history of our life. So many people joined ISKCON, came in contact with ISKCON. So that's a momentary association with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So association with pure sadhus is very, very rare and very, very great. Okay? So Dhritarashtra has left. Next.
The gentle and chaste Gandhari, who was the daughter of King Subal of Gandhar, followed her husband, saying that he was going to the Himalaya mountain, which are the delight of those who have accepted the staff of renounce order, like fighters who have accepted a good lashing from the enemy.
Okay, that just describes Gandhari's life. Next verse.
Maharaj Yudhishthir, whose enemy was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire sacrifices to the sun god, and offering obeisances, grain, cows, land, and gold to the Brahmanas. He then entered the palace to the pay respect to the elderly. However, he could not find his uncle or aunt, the daughter of King Subala.
Purport.
Maharaj Yudhishthir was the most pious king because he personally practiced daily the pious duties for the householders. The householders are required to rise early in the morning, and after bathing they should offer respect to the deities at home by prayer, by offering fuel in the sacred fire, by giving the Brahmanas in charity land, cows, grain, gold, etc. And at the last offering to the elderly member due respect and obeisances. One who is not prepared to practice injunctions prescribed in the Shastras cannot be good man simply by book knowledge. Modern householders are practiced to different modes of life, namely rising late, then take bed, tea without any sort of cleanness and without any purificatory practice as mentioned above. The household children are taken to practice what the parents practice, and therefore the whole generation glides toward hell. Nothing good can be expected from them unless they associate with sadhus. Like Dhritarashtra, the materialistic person may take lesson from a sadhu like Vidura and thus be cleansed of the effect of modern life. Maharaj Yudhishthira, however, could not find in the place his two uncles, namely Dhritarashtra and Vidura, along with Gandhari, the daughter of King Subal. He was anxious to see them, and therefore asked Sanjaya, the private secretary of Dhritarashtra.
So Yudhishthira Maharaj, a Mahajan, is doing morning program. So that's how he's a role model. And that is his everyday routine to go to Dhritarashtra and Gandhari and pay obeisances and receive blessings. But today he went and he didn't find them. He got concerned, where are they? Because generally they will not go out of the palace and he will not know. So being concerned, he asked Sanjay, the secretary of Dhritarashtra. Prabhupada mentions about so-called people nowadays who don't take bath early morning, don't perform any purification and morning sadhana directly, take bed tea or eat breakfast. So that's third class system. A person should give first few hours of the day to Krishna. That's what Prabhupada has given in ISKCON. We are very fortunate to be part of ISKCON, where we are learning all this very simply, in simple way. Okay? Next.
Maharaj Yudhishthir, full of anxiety, turned to Sanjaya, who was sitting there, and said, "Oh Sanjaya, where is our uncle who is old and blind?"
Okay, we end here or we continue? Okay, I don't want to continue, otherwise the class will be divided into three. Some will be Dhira, some will be tolerant, and some will be fortunate. Right? It's not good to make a division. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. We'll meet tomorrow morning 11 o'clock.
Hare Krishna. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. One announcement that closed book exam. Last time also we were asked.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Asking devotees whether we should do it on two options were there, Friday or Saturday. So how many of you are okay on Saturday? Saturday. Saturday what time? Saturday 11 o'clock. Okay, then if majority of devotees are okay with Saturday 11 o'clock, so closed book test will be on Saturday 11 o'clock morning. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. 11 o'clock is okay or 1 o'clock Saturday? Last time when it happened? It's way better. As early as possible is better. As early as possible is better. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी। तो ये क्लोज बुक जो टेस्ट है वो वंशवर्धन प्रभु को पूछा था हमने, तो ऑनलाइन नहीं देना है, वो वहीं पे आके होगा। जो भी ड्यूटीज देना चाहते हैं क्लोज बुक, तो ऑनलाइन नहीं दे सकते। अगर किसी का हरे